What if your company could actually think, I mean, really think, adapt, innovate, not just, during their annual strategy meeting, but all the time, continuously? We're not just talking about installing some new software or running a few bots here and there. No, this is about creating a genuine collaborator, almost like a tireless, self-optimizing teammate embedded right into the strategic nervous system of your whole company. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take complex ideas, frameworks, unpack the source material behind them, and really try to make the insights actionable for you. Today, we're diving deep into this concept of the intelligent enterprise. And a lot of our thinking today is shaped by the strategic work of Zaheer Meer. He lays out this compelling blueprint for, frankly, a fundamental shift, moving beyond seeing AI as just another tool in the box to viewing AI as the actual engine driving continuous corporate evolution. So our mission today, get past the buzzwords, understand the pretty rigorous transformation that's needed for a business to really earn that title, intelligent enterprise. And for you listening, the core question we want to explore is this. What's the real operational difference between a company that, uses AI for automation? We've seen that for years, right? And one that's truly embraced this idea of being continuously learning, relentlessly optimizing, structurally adapting its entire strategy almost in real time. What does that actually look like?
That distinction you just made, that jump from, let's say, an efficiency tool to a truly adaptive strategy, that's really the absolute crux of it. It's the biggest hurdle, I think. An intelligent enterprise, or i.e., it's defined by its ability to almost metabolize data, to learn from every single interaction, every process. So when we talk about this model, we're shifting the whole conversation. We're moving away from static, quarterly business planning, that kind of thing, towards a framework of real-time evolution, where
Right.
every single process is fundamentally designed to improve itself immediately after it runs. So today, we'll spend our time really analyzing the specific, often deep-seated mechanisms that make this continuous learning cycle possible. We'll break down the profound economic shifts it demands, thinking about human capital, resource allocation, and crucially, we have to explore the ethical demands. These have to be met to ensure this transformation isn't just, commercially successful, but that it's also sustainable
Yeah.
and that it remains centered on human progress. It's really about building systems that adapt to the world instead of trying to force the world to fit into our old rigid systems.
Okay, so let's really unpack that core definition then. Our source defines the intelligent enterprise as characterized by continuous learning, automation, and optimization, and all driven by these sophisticated AI feedback loops. Now, that sounds, pretty technical.
It does sound technical,
But
yeah.
the implications, like you said, they seem revolutionary.
They really are. And, to properly grasp the IE concept, you first have to almost redefine how you think about a core business resource: data.
Okay.
In a, let's say, traditional business, data is pretty static. It's a record, right? A ledger. It's the history of what happened last quarter or last year. It probably sits in a database somewhere, and humans run queries on it. They extract information after the fact. But in the intelligent enterprise model, data becomes, the source calls it a living asset.
A living asset. I like that framing. It sounds dynamic.
Yeah.
But structurally, what does that actually mean? How does data get a metabolism, like you said?
It means the data isn't just stored. It's always streaming, always active, and it's always influencing decisions right now. Instead of just relying on historical summaries, you've got real-time sensor inputs, microtransaction analysis, instant feedback loops, all operating constantly, in parallel. So think about a marketing campaign. If it's launched, the data streaming back-click rates, time on page, conversion velocity, it doesn't just get collected for some weekly report that someone might read later.
Right, it's not passive.
No, it's immediately fed back into the AI model that's governing that campaign. And that causes the model to instantaneously adjust the campaign's parameters. Maybe it shifts the target demographic slightly, or changes the ad copy on the fly, or adjusts the bidding strategy. The decision-making itself is designed to evolve minute by minute, not month by month.
Ah, okay. So it's kind of like the difference between looking at a photograph someone took last week versus watching a live high-def video feed where the subject is actually reacting to things happening around them right now.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
And that stimulus, in the business case, is the market reacting to whatever the company just did.
Exactly. And the real engine room, the heart of that revolution, is the continuous feedback loop. You see, simple automation, like an RPA bot, it takes an input, say A, and it just executes a predefined action, B. If A, then B. That's it. But the IE system, It executes B, then it measures the outcome, C. It analyzes C against the original goal. It uses that new knowledge to calculate what the optimal next action, maybe D, should be. And then it feeds that insight, both C and D, back into the entire system architecture for all future iterations.
And critically, that loop isn't just optimizing one single function in isolation, is it? It sounds like it's optimizing across the entire value chain.
Precisely. That's the key. If the system optimizes, say, logistics, maybe it reduces delivery time, let's call that D1. That improves speed, D1, instantly feeds back into the marketing system, which might then dynamically update the shipping promises on the website, D2, which in turn optimizes sales velocity, D3.
It's a chain reaction.
It is. Without that self-correcting, self-improving loop connecting all these processes, you're really just running sophisticated scripts. You're not building intelligence. Building intelligence requires that iterative, compounding accumulation of learned optimization across the whole system.
Okay, this is starting to make sense. But to bring it down to earth a bit, our source gives this really compelling illustrations from Karachi, actually, detailing the transformation of a local textile company.
Yes, the textile example.
They integrated what sounds like a truly intelligent, AI-driven ERP system, enterprise resource planning. But this wasn't just about, managing payroll or tracking inventory they already had. This system apparently became a kind of predictive brain for their entire operation.
Yeah, the scale of the transformation there is pretty incredible because it touched really critical, high-stakes parts of the business. The system, for example, actively predicted fabric demand, and it did this based on really subtle global market signals, maybe geopolitical shifts, things that were just way too complex and fast-moving for human analysts to synthesize manually in time. It also automated the traditionally complex and negotiation-heavy process of selecting vendors. It didn't just look at the immediate cost. It instantly factored in things like historical reliability of the vendor, shipping lane efficiency, even predicted currency fluctuations, all in real time.
Wow. So it basically took all those tedious manual parts of supply chain management and just turned them into these hyper-optimized algorithms.
It did that, but it was more than that, too. It added this proactive layer of quality control. The system could flag faulty shipments before a human defect inspector even had a chance to look at them. Well, maybe by analyzing tiny weight discrepancies during loading or slight temperature fluctuations during transport, it could correlate those microanomalies with historical data on defect rates. This kind of proactive intelligence drastically cut down on wasted material, reduced delayed shipments. It basically injected reliability where there had previously just been risk.
That proactive optimization is definitely the punchline. But the real insight, I think, comes from that owner's quote. It just sums up the whole philosophy of the IE, doesn't it? He said, "I have 200 employees, but my smartest worker doesn't sleep."
That quote is, it's highly provocative, isn't it? Because it speaks directly to the core advantages, scale, reliability, and that continuous learning aspect. It highlights that the AI worker operates with just unmatched speed and precision. And crucially, it operates without the fatigue or the bias or maybe the emotional constraints that can affect human decision-making, especially under pressure. The system can process thousands of variables simultaneously, 247. It never gets tired. So for a mid-sized company like that textile factory, this means they can suddenly handle vastly higher volumes of transactions. They can manage far more complex international supply chains, and they can maintain near-zero error rates in things like production planning. Now, the AI isn't replacing the human skill needed to, say, design the fabric initially or negotiate the high-level contract, but it ensures that the foundational stuff, the logistics, the operational execution, it never falters. It provides this continuous, optimized operational stability, and that is the key driver for rapid scaling.
Okay, so we've established this sort of overarching theory, this idea of continuous learning. Now, let's get specific. Because this is where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for managers and specialists listening in. The source highlights some very specific practical applications that are fundamentally changing core business functions. We're talking finance, HR, AI is moving out of the abstract data center and right into the accounting ledger, the recruitment pipeline, the customer interface itself. So our goal here is really to show you how deeply AI is integrating, not just on the warehouse floor, but into knowledge work. Tasks that, honestly, until very recently, we probably thought were exclusively human domains, requiring judgment and interpretation.
Let's start with the hard numbers area, financial forecasting and control. In a proper intelligent enterprise, you're using accounting bots, yes, for managing financial forecasting. But this goes way beyond just simple trend extrapolation. These systems leverage that living data asset we talked about. They perform predictive accounting. And perhaps most critically, they detect specific, often novel, fraud patterns. Just think about the limitations of a traditional human auditor for a second. They're constrained, right? By time, by budget, by the sheer volume of data. So they have to rely on things like statistical sampling or looking for known pre-programmed signatures of fraud that have happened before.
Right, they can't check everything.
Exactly. But the IE's accounting bot, it doesn't sample. It processes every single transaction, every data field, every log entry, all of it.
So it's analyzing this incredibly high-dimensional data simultaneously, something a human brain just can't do.
Precisely. It identifies these very subtle, multivariable anomalies, things that individually might look completely normal, but when you put them together, so maybe it sees a correlation between purchase orders approved by one specific manager, invoices paid out to a brand new vendor, and a sudden change in how inventory is valued.
A pattern emerges.
A pattern emerges that signifies a new, possibly emerging fraud scheme. And because the system is continuously learning from the results of its own audits, adapting its detection strategies faster than the fraudsters can adapt their schemes, it provides this continuous financial security blanket. This significantly cuts down financial risk exposure. It gives a level of control that was just, frankly, unachievable when you relied mainly on manual review.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for high-volume, precision tasks like finance. But what about the famously soft, subjective area of human resources? Surely things like assessing cultural fit, personality, surely those remain insulated from algorithms.
Well, maybe not entirely, according to our sources. Even HR is undergoing this intense, intelligent personalization. We're seeing HR chatbots taking on quite sophisticated roles that move well beyond just basic keyword screening of resumes. The mandate for these systems isn't just efficiency in filtering resumes. I mean, that's kind of entry-level automation now. Their real goal is to match candidates to the specific company culture. The idea is to improve long-term retention and performance.
Culture matching. Okay, wait. That raises immediate questions for me. How on earth does an AI bot assess something as intangible as culture? And maybe more importantly, if it's only selecting people who fit the current culture, aren't you just baking in systemic bias? Aren't you preventing the very cultural evolution you might need for innovation?
Yeah, that's a critical challenge, absolutely. And it's exactly why the human element, human oversight, is so vital in designing and managing the IE. So, how does it assess culture? It analyzes a massive amount of internal operational data, things like historical performance reviews, longitudinal team dynamics data, career paths of successful employees, even internal communication patterns anonymized, obviously. The AI system generates this sophisticated data-backed profile of what success and fit genuinely look like in that specific organization.
Okay, so it builds a model of the existing culture.
It builds a model. Then, when a candidate interacts with the system, maybe through chatbots or analyzing written responses, the AI can assess things like linguistic patterns, consistency in answers to scenario-based questions, certain behavioral indicators, and it compares those against that internal success profile. But you absolutely hit on the bias point. It's crucial. If the historical data is biased, if, for example, it shows that only people from a certain background tend to succeed or get promoted, the AI will replicate that bias if left unchecked.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Or bias in, bias out.
Exactly. And this is precisely why the IE framework emphasizes human oversight and ethical design from the start. Humans have to validate the input data. They have to continuously tune the models to actively promote desired cultural attributes like diversity, rather than just blindly replicating historical norms.
Okay, so it's using the intelligence to identify potential fit, but it requires human judgment to constantly redefine what best fit actually means for the company's future, not just its past. That makes the efficiency gains seem more worthwhile then, because it drastically cuts down the time human recruiters spend on that initial, often very subjective screening process.
Precisely. It frees up the humans for the more nuanced judgment calls. And finally, let's look at the customer-facing side. Marketing and personalization. We've all experienced, those annoying static pop-ups recommending the same product for weeks on end. How does an IE system elevate that experience?
The key difference, as you pointed out before, must be the words automatically and instantly.
Absolutely. Marketing AIs within an IE personalize the entire customer journey, and they respond instantly to micro-interactions. So let's say a customer lands on a product page for shoes. They hesitate for maybe 3 seconds. Then they scroll down to read the reviews. Then they scroll back up, but they don't click add to cart.
Okay, a common scenario.
A very common scenario. The intelligence system doesn't just log that event for later analysis. It doesn't wait for a human marketer to maybe design a segmented email campaign a day later. No, the system immediately analyzes that hesitation, that scroll pattern. It learns. It asks itself, was the user looking for sizing information? Were they trying to compare the shoe with a different one? Were they looking for social proof? It instantly adapts the journey for that specific user.
Yeah, what would it do?
Well, perhaps it changes a visual layout of the page right then and there to highlight user-generated photos or reviews. Maybe it offers a context-specific related product bundle at a dynamically calculated price. Or maybe it subtly alters the communication tone or the offer in the very next email that user receives. It's this instant adaptation, powered by continuous learned optimization, that drives engagement rates and conversion velocity far beyond what any static human-managed campaign structure could ever achieve.
Okay, so bring it back to the person listening right now. Whether you're managing finance, supervising HR, driving sales, it seems AI is coming for specific processes. The repetitive parts, the data-heavy parts, the non-creative or non-empathetic processes within your job. If you really look hard at your own professional functions, you can probably quickly identify which daily routines could be, or, let's be honest, will soon be handled much more efficiently by one of these learning systems. And maybe that realization, that honest assessment, is your first step toward figuring out how you evolve within this coming intelligent enterprise. Hashtag 33, the human-machine partnership and the ethical pivot.
Right. So if AI is successfully taking over all this calculating, forecasting, screening, optimizing, and doing it at an ever-increasing pace, the really critical question becomes, well, what is left for the human workforce? Our source material makes it emphatically clear, though, that this isn't really a zero-sum game. It's not meant to be a replacement scenario. It's fundamentally framed as a partnership. It seems to be about focusing human capital where its comparative advantage is highest.
Exactly. We really need to move away from this idea of humans competing against machines and move towards what the sources often call the collaborative intelligence model. Under this model, we see a necessary and actually quite detailed division of labor emerging. The AI handles the speed, the precision, the complex predictions, the scalability, essentially, the tasks involving massive, high-dimensional data processing and tireless, flawless execution. These are the operations where, frankly, human cognitive limits introduce friction or errors.
Okay, so AI does the heavy lifting on computation and scale.
Right. But the human contribution, paradoxically perhaps, becomes inherently more valuable in this model. Humans provide the cognitive functions that AI, at least currently, really struggles with. We're talking about deep creativity, holistic ethical judgment, and complex empathy. Creativity is needed for true, out-of-the-box innovation, generating genuinely novel solutions, not just optimizing existing ones slightly better. Ethical judgment is absolutely required for principled decision-making, especially when the AI presents a solution that might be technically optimal but is morally ambiguous. Which can happen.
Which absolutely can happen. And empathy. Well, empathy remains crucial for managing relationships, fostering a positive company culture, engaging in high-stakes human negotiations that require deep contextual understanding, not just predictive models.
So this division of labor, it sounds like it necessitates a massive and probably mandatory evolution of job roles right across the board. The days of earning your primary livelihood just through repetitive process work seem, well, structurally numbered.
They absolutely are. The economic shift here is profound. Job roles must evolve. They have to shift from being primarily procedural and repetitive to being more strategic and creative. And this isn't just, a friendly recommendation. It really is the path to professional future-proofing. Our source material consistently highlights that the company is making a deliberate and often massive investment in reskilling their employees, teaching them how to manage, how to critically judge, and how to constructively collaborate with AI systems. Those are the companies gaining the real competitive advantage. And what does that reskilling actually look like on the ground? I mean, it's not just about teaching everyone to code, is it?
No, it's far more nuanced than that. It means teaching employees how to think a bit like a data scientist, even if they never write a line of code. It involves training sales professionals how to interpret the potential biases in the leads their AI generates for them. It means training factory managers to not just blindly execute the AI's optimized production plan, but to actually audit the AI's decision-making process. Look for unexpected side effects. Question the outputs.
So it's about critical thinking about the AI.
It is. You're equipping your workforce to handle the creative, ethical, and strategic problems that the AI surfaces very efficiently, but often cannot solve autonomously. That kind of investment transforms employees from being simple process executors into becoming AI supervisors, AI collaborators, and genuine innovation drivers.
Okay, that makes the reskilling investment seem essential for internal growth. But the source introduces another really pivotal idea here. It moves beyond just training or compliance. It talks about ethics as a competitive advantage. That suggests ethics isn't just a cost center or a nice to have, but an actual value driver.
This might be the most profound philosophical and strategic shift in the whole IE framework. Traditionally, ethics in business, especially around tech, is often treated as a compliance hurdle, right? Something you do, maybe grudgingly, to avoid lawsuits or fine.
Yeah, risk management.
Risk management, exactly. The intelligent enterprise framework completely turns this on its head. The source explicitly argues, and I'm quoting here, ethics in automation ensures humans remain central to progress. And here's the tangible reason why it becomes a competitive advantage in the real world. When an automated system makes the catastrophic error, think about a recruiting bot that systematically discriminates against protected classes because its training data was biased. Or maybe an optimization algorithm that pushes the supply chain into using unsustainable or unethical labor practices.
Big problems.
Huge problems. And the result is almost always a severe, sometimes immediate erosion of public trust. We've seen company stock prices absolutely crater because of ethically problematic AI deployment.
Ah, okay. So the competitive advantage is partly risk mitigation, yes, but that translates directly into things like brand loyalty and investor confidence.
Exactly. A business that develops a reputation for having biased, non-transparent, or ethically questionable AI systems, it loses consumer confidence. It loses regulatory trust. And increasingly, it loses access to institutional capital investment. Investors are getting much more savvy about this. Therefore, investing proactively in building strong ethical frameworks, ensuring transparency in how the AI models make decisions, guaranteeing human-in-the-loop oversight for critical choices, designing for fairness from the outset, this isn't just sound policy anymore. It ensures trust. It bolsters sustainability. It guarantees human-centric design. And all of those things are increasingly sought after by consumers and by B2B clients alike. In a world that's going to be saturated with automation, ethics becomes the key strategic differentiator that ultimately wins and keeps market share. Hashtag 5V, regional impact and real-world application, focusing on Pakistan.
Okay, let's pivot a bit from the conceptual stuff, the theory, to a really concrete example of this whole revolution taking hold regionally. The source materials detail the emergence of AI-powered businesses, specifically in Pakistan. And this demonstrates beautifully, I think, that the intelligent enterprise model isn't just some discussion limited to, Silicon Valley campuses or established European tech hubs. These principles seem to be pretty universal.
Yeah, this regional focus is critical because it really validates the adaptability of the IE model itself. We're seeing these vibrant AI-powered startup hubs emerging in major cities like Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad. And this emergence seems to be fueled by a kind of convergence. You've got readily available data, you've got a large and growing tech talent pool, and significant entrepreneurial drive. It really proves that the barrier to entry for adopting these kinds of intelligent systems might be lower than many people assume.
And the numbers coming out of that regional adoption, they're not just theoretical projections, are they? They sound like hard, tangible gains.
No, we have some really compelling data points, yeah. Local small and medium enterprises, SMEs, in Pakistan that are adopting and successfully integrating advanced data analytics and intelligence systems, they're reporting seeing a staggering 30 to 40% rise in productivity.
Wow, 30 to 40% for an SME? That's huge.
It's absolutely huge. Think about the impact of that number for a small or medium-sized business. This isn't marginal improvement. A 30–40% increase in output efficiency. That often represents the difference between just stagnating and actually achieving rapid scaling. It allows them to compete much more effectively, even against larger international firms. This level of optimization translates directly into increased global competitiveness for them.
Yeah, a gain that size immediately justifies the initial investment in the tech and the training required. But beyond that immediate boost, there seems to be this larger regional aspiration. It's encapsulated in this vision for Pakistan to become the Silicon Valley of ethical AI enterprises.
That phrasing is really interesting. It's almost like a strategic declaration, isn't it? It deliberately unites economic ambition, the Silicon Valley part, directly with that ethical mandate we just discussed, the ethical AI part. It signals to the world, I think, that the region isn't just aiming for blind technology adoption. They're aiming for principled technology adoption. They're trying to build an ecosystem where Innovation and responsibility are fundamentally linked. And the hope, presumably, is that this approach will attract global investment that values long-term, trustworthy enterprise structures, not just quick wins.
And we can actually see this principle being applied directly through some of the case studies presented, particularly within Mr. Meer's broader digital future ventures ecosystem. These aren't just theoretical platforms he's talking about. They seem to be functional, intelligent enterprises already solving complex local problems.
Right. Take packfiler.com, for instance. Let's focus on tax automation. Now, taxes are almost the definition of repetitive, highly procedural, data-intensive work. And the rules are constantly shifting based on regulatory updates. It's like the perfect target for an IE system. So Packfiler's AI doesn't just, fill out forms based on last year's rules. It integrates sophisticated AI to constantly monitor real-time policy changes and tax code updates across different jurisdictions. The system provides continuous compliance monitoring. It can generate personalized compliance warnings based on a user's specific transaction data, and it automatically optimizes tax planning based on the very latest learned insights from the new regulations. It essentially transforms this cumbersome, error-prone human process into a precise, efficient, automated system that minimizes legal risk for the user and maximizes their potential returns. It's a textbook IE application in the financial sphere.
Okay, that's a clear finance example. And what about urdybook.com? How does that demonstrate intelligent enterprise principles, but maybe in e-commerce?
Urdybook uses intelligent e-commerce systems that really apply the lessons we talked about earlier regarding marketing personalization, but they're tailored very specifically to the local Pakistani context. This means doing far more than just recommending the next bestseller. Their system manages dynamic pricing. It adjusts prices based on real-time inventory levels, but also incorporates things like localized market sentiment analysis, maybe tracking social media trends, and even factoring in regional cultural events or holidays that are known to influence buying behavior.
So it's highly contextual.
Highly contextual, and crucially, it employs intelligent logistics optimization. It predicts where inventory needs to be stocked, anticipating demand based on learned consumption patterns in different cities, sometimes weeks ahead of actual orders being placed. This kind of instant adaptation and highly localized prediction allows the platform to offer an extremely high level of customer service and delivery speed that would just be impossible with a more static, traditional e-commerce model.
So the synthesis then, from looking at these different examples like Packfiler and Urdybook, what's the final proof point of the IE theory here?
I think the proof point really hammers home that central theme. Ethics and innovation together create sustainable business growth. It's not just about building the smartest algorithm in the world, it's about deploying that algorithm responsibly. Whether you're handling highly sensitive financial data like Packfiler does, or running fair and optimized retail operations like Urdybook, it's about doing it in a way that provides maximum customer value while upholding the necessary standards for long-term trust. The IE model, therefore, seems to work across all sectors, provided that foundational commitment to continuous learning and ethical governance is genuinely in place. Hashtag tag synthesis and core takeaways.
Okay. We have covered a lot of ground. We've gone through definitions, specific operational applications in finance and HR, talked about the necessary human shift towards more creative collaboration, and looked at some compelling real-world results from regional economies like Pakistan. So let's try to synthesize all of this information now. If you're listening, maybe you're a learner, a manager, a business owner, and you're absorbing this framework, what are the, let's say, 3 non-negotiable, absolutely essential takeaways that really have to guide your strategy moving forward in this landscape?
Yeah, we can definitely try to crystallize this. It's a complex, multi-layered shift. But I think we can boil it down to 3 critical lessons that really define success in this age of the intelligent enterprise. Okay, lesson 1. Focus on process evolution, not people replacement. This is the critical distinction we started with, and honestly, it probably bears repeating. AI won't replace people wholesale. It just won't. But it absolutely will replace processes that ignore learning. So if your daily tasks or the tasks of your team are primarily defined by repetition, by manual data aggregation, by adherence to old, non-adaptive legacy procedures, well, those specific processes are high-risk targets for automation and optimization. The importance of human adaptability, therefore, is just paramount. You have to be prepared and help your teams be prepared to evolve your skill set faster than those procedural tasks get automated away.
That's such a crucial frame shift, isn't it? It kind of removes the existential fear, maybe, and redirects attention to procedural weakness instead.
Exactly. Okay, lesson 2. Leadership is defined by learning systems. To genuinely lead their industries in the future, businesses must make a strategic, top-down commitment to teaching their systems to think iteratively. Now, this isn't achieved by just, buying some off-the-shelf software package that claims to fix one isolated problem. It requires a deep, often architectural commitment to building those continuous, self-improving feedback loops we detailed earlier across the entire organization. Leadership in the future, I strongly believe, will belong to those who treat data not as a storage problem, but as that living, breathing asset that constantly enhances the operational intelligence of the entire enterprise. And finally, lesson 3. Ethics is the new strategic differentiator. We really have to reiterate this point. Ethical design, ethical deployment, ethical oversight, it's not optional anymore. It is absolutely non-negotiable for sustainable growth and for market longevity. As intelligent automation becomes truly ubiquitous, genuine trust in the system's transparency, its fairness, its governance that becomes the scarcest and therefore the most valuable resource. Ethics is not just compliance. It's not a cost center. It is a fundamental strategic differentiator that ensures human oversight remains central, builds deep customer confidence, and truly future-proofs the enterprise against regulatory shifts and public backlash. Hashtag, outro.
That was an immense amount of information, expertly distilled down to some really actionable insights. We focus specifically on how successful businesses are starting to leverage AI to continuously learn, automate, and optimize their entire value chain, becoming intelligent enterprises. Now, as we wrap up, here's a final provocative thought for you to maybe mull over as you think about integrating these insights into your own career or your business strategy. If the ultimate goal of this intelligent enterprise is to achieve continuous optimization through those relentless AI feedback loops, and if the truly protected human role is increasingly defined by creativity, empathy, and ethical judgment, then we ask you to look honestly at your professional life today, right now. How much of your current job role is genuinely creative or empathetic, falling into that uniquely human domain? And how much is perhaps just a process that ignores learning? If you can successfully categorize your time, your tasks, based on that simple metric, well, you've effectively just charted your own personal reskilling roadmap. And you've probably taken the first step to guaranteeing your relevance in this rapidly evolving age of the intelligent enterprise.
Yeah, understanding and actively embracing that human-machine partnership really is the only reliable path forward, I think. We have to ensure that as our systems become exponentially smarter, they continue to be designed and deployed first and foremost to serve human-centric progress and genuine innovation.
Apply this knowledge. Look critically for those processes that ignore learning, and start building your own intelligence and your organization's intelligence starting today.
Thanks for diving deep with us.